As someone who grew up in a really strict Filipino household, makeup was not really something that I was ever really encouraged to wear. But for as long as I could remember, I've been drawn to it. And it really wasn't until junior year of high school that I even started to curl my lashes and wear like a tiny little bit of eyeliner. And then from college onward, it's been a constant exploration of new makeup products, new trends, and being along for the ride of the evolution of those trends. But what I think made me really dive into the makeup world was how it gave you the ability to express yourself. I loved the way that it made me feel. I loved how therapeutic it felt to sit there and put my makeup on. And I loved seeing people's makeup looks on my Instagram feed, on YouTube, and now even on TikTok. Because what it did for me was inspire me to recreate a look, to try a new color on myself. It made me want to try new techniques, and some of those have even become staples in my routine. So, in a world where there are constant trends and probably millions of different makeup techniques out there, how do you decide when one technique has been stolen from another person? When is it a credit where credit is due situation? And when is it a you're being too sensitive, it's just makeup situation? And is the trouble ever really worth it when the category isn't even really necessary in the beauty industry? Hey guys, welcome back, and if you're new, then welcome. My name is Christina, and today we are talking about quite a hot topic right now in the beauty industry, and it is the controversies surrounding Patrick Ta's new transition blush release with a very popular pro makeup artist known as Painted by Esther. I myself am a beauty creator, and I've been doing this for the better half of the last decade, and for half of that time, I did work in marketing and advertising in corporate, and I have a bachelor's in communications, and because of that mix, I have been so invested in this topic since I have had a foot in both doors at some point or still. And today what I'd like to do is present you with what I've learned, what I've seen, and a little bit of my opinion. I'm going to be breaking down who Patrick Ta and Painted by Esther are within the beauty community, what the main issues are that are essentially being discussed, and what it might mean for the industry moving forward. I do want to start this video off by letting you guys know that we are not here to tear anyone down. We are not here to bully or belittle anyone. I am simply sharing what info is out there along with some of my personal opinions, so you guys don't have to search around if you are curious about what's going on. But the point is not to create an environment of hatred. I definitely welcome constructive conversation and insight in the comments down below if you guys would like to add to anything that I may be talking about or anything that has happened since this video has gone live. So this is by all means still ongoing, and so much has been coming out, whether it be receipts or more opinions, more backlash, or more support. So this is everything that I have personally found so far as of filming this video. First, I want to talk to you guys about the backgrounds of each person that is involved within the situation. So let's first talk about Painted by Esther's background. Ngozi Esther Edima, I hope that I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, I'm sorry, but for the sake of this video, we will be referring to her as Painted by Esther. She is known as Painted by Esther on social media, and she's a well-known pro makeup artist who has glammed faces like SZA, Her, Alandria, Cassie, and Gabrielle Union, a long list of very prominent, very big celebrities. And by all accounts, Painted by Esther has a very, very specific makeup look and technique. It was coined Barbie core or Barbie glam in roughly 2022-2023, and you could pinpoint when it was a Painted by Esther glam. In my opinion, she was really laying the groundwork with her looks very, very steadily, and undeniably she really became a force to reckon with when it came to this technique when she started doing Alandria's makeup, since she was a huge social presence after Love Island USA season 7. And I think this partnership was really mutually beneficial because both women at this this point had a really strong presence. The timeline here is kind of interesting because I have seen 2019 floating around whenever people are talking about how long she's been doing this specific technique. There have been magazines that have cited that she's been doing this style since 2023 and later popularized it in 2024, 2025. The earliest I saw on her personal TikTok, and mind you, this is one social platform and I just scrolled down, was roughly mid 2023 when I saw that she started posting this very specific look very consistently. I'm not saying she wasn't doing it before, but when we really saw it become like her signature from TikTok was mid 2023. Now let's talk about Patrick Ta as a person and his background. So Patrick Ta started off as a pro and celebrity artist after dropping out of high school and attempting to open his own nail and tanning salon in Arizona, which later failed. And when that didn't work, he started working at a Mac counter and then eventually moved to LA where he connected with really big celebrities. He did the makeup of people like Shay Mitchell, Gigi and Bella Hadid, Ariana Grande, Camila Cabello, and he came up on the scene and from what I remember was known for the Patrick Glow, where he did skin that was really dewy, really radiant, very bronze. Like you knew when it was a Patrick Ta look when he was coming up in the scene. And eventually in 2019, he came out with his own makeup brand, Patrick Ta Beauty, alongside two partners, Rima and Ava Minasan. And I would say since the brand has been on the market, there have been a slew of allegations here and there and controversies surrounding the brand as well as the person, Patrick Ta. There's been talk about, like I said, him as a person, but also the quality of his products, like his eyeshadow palettes molding, the pricing of his products, like his eyeshadow duos that came out that were $42. And there are two controversies specifically that I want to highlight because I feel like they are the most relevant to today's story and why this kind of establishes sort of a pattern here. The most recent one I want to say is the situation of him not paying Black creators. So in 2024, Patrick Ta Beauty was called out by beauty influencer Ivana Sunshine for not compensating her after doing work with them.
I'm sick of seeing companies profit off of the Black dollar and they're not paying Black creators. I have a question for brands. How would you feel if someone stole from you? If someone took your hard-earned time and work, blood, sweat, and tears, and they stole from you?
She cited the issue being brands taking advantage of the Black creators to profit off of the Black dollar. Ivana said in a People article, this isn't just about one brand, it's about the need for fairness, accountability, and equity across the industry. I hope this conversation encourages more brands to reflect on their practices and commit to valuing all creators equally. Jen Loves did a great deep dive on this topic, so I will link that down below for you guys if you want to see more about what happened and kind of what transpired. The next situation that happened was after this story had come out. Jules LeBron, the TikTok creator who did the very demure, very cutesy trend.
For work, very demure, very mindful. I don't come to work with a green cut crease. I don't look like a clown when I go to work. I don't do too much. I'm very mindful while I'm at work.
She spoke on her podcast about a brand who later was revealed as being Patrick Ta Beauty that flew her out to attend this foundation launch and was featured in TikToks with Patrick Ta. And the issue, she said, was that she felt like she was being taken advantage of and was never compensated despite bringing in 12 million views for the launch of this one foundation. And Jules also said on the podcast that she later found out some of the influencers Patrick Ta was doing videos with were actually paid to be there to promote this launch. Now, while putting this video together, I did see that Jules posted a follow-up TikTok about this whole situation. And while yes, she thinks that she was shorted when it comes to being compensated, she said that it's not necessarily about the money, it's about the fact that it seemed like Patrick Ta Beauty was being lumped in as one of the brands who helped support Jules monetarily to have her trans surgery. And Jules said that that is what pissed her off, that they were kind of insinuating that they were part of the brands that paid her. So now that we have both backgrounds laid out for you guys, I debated on how I wanted to structure this video, and I decided that I was going to be talking about three main topics or three main issues when it comes to this whole situation. And I will say that there are a lot more than three topics that are being talked about. So many different people have been thrown into the mix, so many thoughts and perspectives and opinions, but we're going to just cover the top three that I personally think are contributing the most to this. And I do want to say I'm not an expert. I'm very new to these commentary type of videos. There may be things that come out between me filming this and me putting this video out, and maybe it's not refined enough. I tried my best to really scrub through everything and be as thorough as possible. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm really not trying to spread any misinformation. This is not supposed to be like a drama or tea video. It really is just the facts stated for anyone that just wants everything in one video. And I'm going to be leaving any helpful videos, articles, and other sources in the description box for you guys if you want to further look into it. So the first issue that I think is happening is that Patrick Ta could have been transparent about his inspiration and made Painted by Esther part of the conversation or part of this launch. So this past week, Patrick Ta did announce his brand new release, which is the Transition Blushes. It comes with a duo of blushes, and it comes with some liquid blushes that are supposed to be less pigmented and allow for a more seamless blend, hence the words Transition Blush, when it comes to blending it into his already existing blushes. This is essentially supposed to be an extension of what he already has. So I think people kind of had some alarm bells ringing whenever they first saw this.
Patrick Ta just launched these transition blushes to help you achieve a more seamless transition from your under eye to your cheek. I kind of posted a tutorial that I learned from another makeup artist just a few days ago. I'm going to follow the instructions that I have here with me. The first step is to conceal your under eye. Apply some on the back of your hand. It's starting to feel familiar, y'all. Then it goes set your eyes with a translucent setting powders. Interesting. This has been an interesting experience. Call a spade. This is a sheer blush. It's a lot of steps for a process that is meant to be for people who need help. If you need help getting that seamless blend, you probably are more of a makeup beginner.
But what really made this viral and kind of set this off was this specific video where someone did a side-by-side comparison of Patrick Ta demoing and launching or announcing his products and Painted by Esther showing how to do her technique. It essentially was pretty much the same thing. It showed the layering of blush. It showed using different products to blend in and kind of create depth, using a lighter and darker shade, using a colored powder, where in Patrick Ta's case would be his new blushes, but in Esther's case, it was using a colored loose powder. And something that really stuck out to people was Patrick Ta saying back of my palm when he was referring to the back of his hand.
The back of my palm.
Really saturate the products to the back of your palm. Get it into your brush.
And Patrick Ta says that he filmed this video March 5th, but people are speculating that it was a copy specifically because of the whole back of the palm comment. Personally, I think it's more widely known as the back of your hand. Esther herself said that she had to do multiple takes and she just accidentally kept saying back of the palm and they just kept it. So that is very interesting. And I think that I have seen Patrick talk about applying and, doing tutorials. And from what I remember, he does say back of the hand, but of course, people don't say the exact same thing all the time. But if you do claim to be an expert in blush, it does seem a little peculiar. And this next part came out whenever Painted by Esther did a 9-minute TikTok addressing the whole situation. And she had said that allegedly, I'm saying allegedly because, we don't know for certain what happened, but allegedly, Patrick Ta's partner, Rima Minasan, booked a do and go session, which is what Esther calls it, where essentially she does her makeup and then that's it. And she booked this through her agent to get her makeup done. And the day of the booking, Esther said that she was told that Rima wanted to film Esther putting her makeup on. And Esther had said that this just didn't really sit right with her. So she went ahead and canceled the booking because that's not what she booked in for. It would be a completely different thing. It would be a one-on-one, like teaching lesson type of thing.
It's not a one-to-one lesson. It's not a teaching lesson. It's on the day of the booking, I get a text from my agent, oh, so-and-so wants to record you doing the glam. To which I said, no, that doesn't sit right with me. So I cancelled that booking because I found that very strange. Like, why would you want to record me?
And when I was getting ready to film this video this morning, I saw that Patrick Ta or Patrick Ta Beauty's reps did an interview with Glossy, and they actually addressed this specific situation. They said that the booking was canceled due to rate changes and that everything was kept very professional and positive, and nothing was mentioned otherwise within the cancellation. Now, here's my question. Did you expect her to lose her shit? She and her agent are professionals and they're expected to act as such. So whether she disclosed it or not with you guys, the booking was canceled. And maybe because Esther cited that's not the kind of session she booked. Like I said, that would be like a one-on-one teaching type of session. Maybe that's why the rate changed. Maybe they changed the type of booking. We don't know. This is all speculation. And they also said in the Glossy interview that the emails reference the inclusion of social content in the initial email outlining her rates. So they're basically saying that she knew that social content would be included because her rates were in the initial email. So what does that mean? Again, we don't know 100%, but as a creator myself, if a brand reaches out, I'm giving them all of my rates for an integration, for a dedicated video, for a YouTube short, for Instagram, for a reel, a TikTok, whatever. I'm giving them all my rates regardless of what the deliverable is that they're asking for, because you want to offer everything. You want to allow the client to see what they can pick and choose from. And in saying that, I feel like that constitutes as outlining social content. I, again, am speculating here, but it sounds very convenient to throw that into the mix of things when trying to explain yourself. Now, another interesting thing that people were saying, he could have very easily given Esther her flowers was, this isn't direct evidence, but Patrick Ta got really defensive, in my opinion, in a TikTok caption. So the caption reads, I started working on transition blush 1.5 years ago. I wanted to create a product that was specifically made for this blush look. I do not own this look. And then he tagged Esther. She is amazing and so talented. She popularized this look through her work and through Alandria. I also have been doing this blush look since 2021, not the same as Esther, but my own version. I am a makeup artist, and he said, I have nothing but love and respect for Esther. Patrick Ta wants to say that he's been doing this look for years, since 2021, but a different version. And I don't know, if you're saying that you do the same thing but different, doesn't that make it different? Now, mind you, this caption came after the backlash did. So this was not at the forefront where he says, I have love and respect for Esther. That could have came before, but it didn't. With the whole thing about him saying that he does the same thing, but it's a different version, I think he meant interpretation, but that might be semantics, but that's not really the point. And another thing that really points to the fact that he was inspired by Esther was that he used to very much do powder before cream. He had a powder before cream technique. That is what his whole blush duo was kind of built on. It was probably the first time that we really saw a palette come together where they were specifically saying that the cream came at the end to kind of bring back that natural glow, the thing that he was known for, at least what I assumed he was known for was that glow. But I did see in Spill Sesh's video on this topic that there was a screenshot where he said that he switched it up and he switched the steps based on the Painted by Esther version, the Painted by Esther look. And there are some old comments that have surfaced that I've seen in multiple different videos where Patrick Ta is referencing the Painted by Esther technique. In that same interview with Glossy, Patrick Ta Beauty tries to clear up the whole misunderstanding and say that the product has been in production for 1.5 years. And there's big emphasis on 1.5 years. That is like what they're sticking to. And that Patrick Ta was heavy on being able to innovate innovate on a form of blush that would further complement his popular blush duos. The rep also said that Patrick Ta doesn't claim to have invented the look, but they don't further explain what he meant when he said, I created a 3-step blush technique.
I created a 3-step blush technique to give you flawless blush every single time.
There's really not too much touched on it. And what I learned in my years of marketing was that you want to avoid opening up a whole new can of worms. And maybe that's why they didn't go into a whole deep dive. They went ahead and addressed it, but they just said what they had to say and then they kind of left it at that. Now, the whole 1.5 years thing of it being in production, so that would put us at the beginning of 2025. And if I'm following the timeline correctly, Painted by Esther has been referenced as doing this since as early as 2023 or even 2019. So then my question is, why are we supposed to believe, oh, it's just a coincidence, when Esther was very, very much like in the thick of her recognition for this technique, for, you know, the blush look? I don't know. And one of the things I found the most interesting about this Glossy article is that they also say that they reached out to collaborate with Esther on this launch. I'd be curious to see what Esther has to say about this, but regardless, with them saying that, you kind of acknowledge that you understood her influence, you understood how she made sense for promoting a campaign or promoting a product like this within a campaign. So why not reference her, or at least not backtrack like that, you know? Like, instead of being like, oh, I've been doing this, and then in this interview, kind of like to take care of all of the issues going on, you say, no, we reached out. I feel like that's kind of, it doesn't make sense in my head, the whole timeline of that. I'm not saying these things can't really happen at the same time, but I would be curious to know at what degree the priorities were at. You know what I'm saying? So topic number 2, and this is a really big one in my opinion, and the one that I feel like a lot of people have major issues with, is that Patrick Ta took a makeup trend popularized by a Black woman and is now trying to capitalize on it. Now, can you own a technique in makeup? No, you can't. You can be known for it, you can popularize it, you can redo it, you can like modernize it, but no, I don't think you can really own anything. You could be credited for something, but to say like, I did this and this is mine and there's nothing like it before me, at least for this specific thing, no. So before Painted by Esther and before Patrick Ta Beauty, there was blush draping. It was very popularized in the 1970s. That was around the time that we were seeing it, and it has made its rounds. It has come back for bouts of time since then, and it has been named different things, but the techniques are very, very similar, maybe a little bit tweaked. Now, for the people that are saying it's just blush, get over it, it's just a trend, get over it, she should have trademarked it, whatever, and we'll get into the trademark soon. Here's the thing. The reason I think that this is such a big deal is that Painted by Esther made it clear that she was taking inspiration from techniques like this and then making it attainable for dark-skinned women or people of color to wear makeup, in this case, very pink, very bold blushes that they were once told that they couldn't wear. And I think a lot of people take issue because it's another case of someone creating a safe space for a marginalized group of people and making something work for them, and then someone else coming in and trying to make a profit off of it without understanding the how or why of it all. And at its core, the reason why this trend made a resurgence was because it was made to make blushes work for people of color, for darker skinned women. And a creator by the name Britch Beauty, in my opinion, sums up perfectly why it is that deep.
Now, the truth is, this blush technique is older than some of y'all makeup bags, but why does Patrick Ta still owe Painted by Esther her flowers? First of all, Painted by Esther is that girl. She took this blush placement, built an entire aesthetic around it, centered Black women in it, and made the world pay attention. And that right there deserves to be said clearly and loudly. So what Painted by Esther did is she didn't just apply a technique. She took a technique, redefined it, and put people at the center of that technique who had never seen themselves at the center of it before. This works on brown skin, on dark skin, on us. And just like so many times before, a black woman took something, made it her aesthetic, made it mainstream, and then the industry swooped in. Which brings me to right now. This technique doesn't belong to anybody. It never has. But when you build a whole product line, trademark it, and don't acknowledge the creators whose aesthetic has made it culturally relevant in this moment, that's the conversation that's happened in the beauty industry right now.
And not only that, the products are expensive and kind of unnecessary. It's $30 for 6 grams of product. That is small, you guys. And I think it means 6 grams of product for both powder products. It really is peak consumerism. It isn't solving a problem because people have been proving for years now that you can make the look with things that you already have. And some TikTok creators that have previously made videos about these products, and they have disclosed that these were ads, by the way, they are not getting the nicest comments. A lot of the people in the comments are saying that this wasn't even really an issue. Someone said, "Jenny, I really like your content, but calling this revolutionary is an embarrassment to Eastern beauty. We all know Korean and Chinese makeup has been doing this for years. You literally have the Dasique Transition Blush Quad, first of its kind," in the caption. "As a beauty influencer of Asian heritage, no girl, no. This is so unnecessarily complicated and such a money grab, sorry. They invented a problem that wasn't a problem, and now they are selling the solution. Wow. Ah yes, my girl Painted by Esther has been doing this since 2019, but suddenly Patrick Columbus tried to steal her technique, and now he has a brand new system. Overconsumption at its finest." Here's the thing, I understand the whole streamlining process part that Patrick Top Beauty was talking about, but not having enough products at this point is not the problem. Learning how to use what you have is. The problem, in my opinion, is people will be marketed a product and only use it like that, and I am definitely guilty of this as well. The beauty of makeup artists sharing techniques online is that they allow the regular everyday consumer to kind of think outside the box and learn how to use their products to make it work for them and benefit them the most. And on that note, I feel like, again, referencing back to that Glossy article, I feel like Patrick Ta contradicts himself. So in the article, and this may be me being nitpicky, I will say that, just letting you guys know, but it did rub me the wrong way with, my knee-jerk reaction being what it was. So a representative, not Patrick Ta himself, it says that the brand representative acknowledged that some people may feel such products drive consumerism or are unnecessary, particularly in the current tough economic landscape, but said that these products were made for true enthusiasts and beauty junkies. So that is the key part to this. It's made for true enthusiasts and beauty junkies. So we are to assume it's for someone like, me, someone that has a lot of makeup, someone that plays with and experiments with a lot of makeup, someone that understands textures and techniques and just the differences with them. Well, I wouldn't say I understand techniques fully, but you know what I'm saying. But then Patrick Ta himself in the article does say, "Transition blush has been in development for over a year and a half from my desire to make a blurred under eye to cheek blush feel more effortless and approachable for consumers. It really solves the problem for anyone who ever has a hard time blending blush." And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that both can be true. Two things can be true at the same time. But my question here is, really, what was the driving goal then? Do you want to cater to your makeup enthusiasts and beauty junkies who by every launch have hundreds of one specific category in their collection? Or do you want to make blush more approachable for your everyday person, your everyday consumer? Because as a makeup junkie myself, I can say that this is not a need for me. I could make what I have work. And it's really, really got me thinking, right? So how does this differ from a Revolution Beauty and e.l.f. Cosmetics coming out with dupes, coming out with products that completely copy, well, not copy, but, resemble very closely other very popular products? It could very well be because brand-to-brand competition, it doesn't hit the same as a makeup creator and a brand competition. You know what I mean? So some past examples, the whole Huda Beauty debacle with Beauty Bakery when Huda Beauty was coming out with her Easy Bake powders, and she did a whole campaign that looked very similar to Beauty Bakery. On another note, to where we're talking about a brand sort of versus a creator. So this is just a thought for people who may not think that this is a big deal, and maybe it's not, but do you guys remember Cozy or Coz? Jaclyn Hill's brand that she came out with, I think it was Cozy. She had that entire scandal where she was trying to take the name Koze, Koze, from another creator. And that creator had back and forth conversations, and eventually she ended up not being able to keep Koze, and she was worried about her brand getting overshadowed. And eventually she got rid of the name. She had to completely change her branding. And where is Cozy now? Jaclyn Hill shut down Cozy, so it no longer exists really in any realm. And all of that for what is my question. You see what I'm saying? Like, it may not seem like such a big deal to some, but to others who have really built their brand on something, it's very difficult when you're going against something that has money, whether it be a person or whether it be a brand. And granted, these are brand names and not techniques like what we're talking about, but that's also the issue. Here's the thing. The big difference here is that Patrick Ta himself has a controversial history. It wasn't only about the controversy of not paying Black creators. It was his response videos to it where he recorded it twice. One where he was a bit more stoic, and then he deleted that and he came out with the same scripted one where he was crying. And similarly, it's not about the transition blushes necessarily being released. It was his response to say nothing or to double down. We know that Esther's techniques were her own, and she popularized it in this era of makeup. But how many of us truly knew before this the history of Kevyn Aucoin's transition blushes and how deep it went until this all went down? People forget. When I saw the transition blushes from Kevyn Aucoin when this was happening, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about those. I knew about them, but I forgot. My point with that is that people eventually, as humans, they will forget the originators, the credited, the innovators. And I think that is the big scary issue. It's really easy for a huge brand to overshadow a creator if there aren't people to remember them or stand up for it. And that leads us to our final issue. They are trying, in my opinion, to trademark it to overshadow anyone else going forward that wants to capitalize on the phrase transition blush. So a creator named Patricia Bright talks about the issue being trademarks, and I think she makes it make a lot of sense.
What Patrick Ta has done to Painted by Esther is categorically wrong, and I am not afraid to say it with my chest. This is not just because he has come out with a new product, even though it's very clear that Painted by Esther has perfected and made it popular in today's age, but it's the fact that he has trademarked it. Trademarking the concept of transitional blush is insane, because what you are trying to do is trying to block a Black woman's coin and long-term earning potential. The selective outrage, the specifically ignoring the needs of darker-skinned women, the non-paying of darker-skinned women. And what's so annoying is that this has been at the expense of so many amazing creatives who just do not have the capital to take their ideas as far as they need to go.
I'm sure you guys are aware, but a lot of huge brands and huge faces of brands, they started off with incubator companies. So that is proof that sometimes the money is the problem. And another thing is, Painted by Esther might not have even thought to trademark like a name for the technique. And I don't blame her. You never know when something that you do is going to blow up, if something that you do is going to become a viral technique. And then at that point, you have to scramble to figure out what it might be, who might like try to trademark it. If you're trying to trademark everything that you say as a creator, that's a lot of money, you guys. And again, it's kind of trying to get ahead of a problem that does not exist. And again, I don't really blame her. I know there are the people that want to say, oh, she should have got ahead of it. She should have trademarked it. What did she expect? Blah, blah, blah. And I get that. But I really think that if you take a step back, that just that's speaking in hindsight, you know what I mean? And another thing that I feel like people really respect Painted by Esther for is that she has never falsely claimed anything specifically with this technique, because that would be silly. That is what she said. Those are her words. She's always given Danessa Myricks, Pat McGrath, Kevin Aquan, and countless others before her their flowers. She has only ever claimed to take inspiration and make it something that she loves on her muses. And I got really curious, you guys, about this whole trademark conversation, so I went ahead and I looked at the actual application for the trademark. Now, I want to preface and let you guys know that I am new to this. This was my very first time really trying to deep dive and look at applications for trademarks, so I may not fully understand everything, but I did want to present you with this information. So the trademark for the phrase transition blush, the application was submitted on May 7th, 2025, which was 1 year ago. Now, they are saying that this has been in the works for a year and a half. It makes sense that they wouldn't really put in a trademark until they were sure it was going to be something that happened. I don't really know. Now, the reason why I thought this was interesting was if you look at the other trademarks that were applied for by Patrick Ta Beauty, the brand, a majority of the current trademarks follow that same major blank pattern, right? So you have major glow, major blush, major volume. And there are very few exceptions, with one of them being Transition Blush, which isn't even the name of his product. It is called Major Headlines Transition Blurring Under Eye Blush Duo. So if this were to follow that same pattern that is already there, it would be Major Transition Blush or Major Transition Blurring, Major Blurring Blush, something like that, something with major. You see what I'm saying? So it's clear that he was trying to trademark a phrase. And then that left me with the question of why. Because in my opinion, I feel like the thought process there is that he's trying to get ahead of it. He's trying to block and own that category because they follow beauty trends. Beauty brands follow beauty trends, and they have beauty trend predictions presented to them that help them figure out what's going to come next. And why is this becoming the next big beauty trend? Because of Esther. Okay, so maybe you're still not convinced that this was such a big deal. And again, maybe it's not, but let's go ahead and put this into perspective with a different example. Nina Park's blurring lips. Nina Park became very popularized with her blurred lip look, where it was utilizing different contour colors, different lipstick depths, different textures of lip products to create this lived-in look. This is a look that has been in existence for decades, right? So in Europe, it was known in European markets. In Asia, this is a very popular Asian trend. It is a perfect example of someone popularizing an otherwise casual makeup trend. It became viral, whether we like to admit it or not. I know that if you are in the beauty realm, you have seen a recreating Nina Park's lip look, right? It is a look that is so distinctive and so specific that you could either tell it was a Nina Park makeup look or someone was trying to recreate the Nina Park makeup look. It was something that was exciting, and it was kind of being part of that time in makeup. No one tried to trademark it from under her, right? So it's almost like if Hailey Bieber put in a trademark for the phrase blurred lips whenever she came out with her like blurry lip crayon things. That is a makeup technique. So why would Hailey Bieber trademark that? When you put it into perspective that way, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that is kind of weird. That doesn't really make sense. And I always think about the Kim and the kimono thing, that whole debacle. What was that about? Now, I do want to play devil's advocate here really quickly because I really wanted to rack my brain about this whole trademark thing. I really wanted to understand. So here is another perspective to look at this with. I think that maybe Patrick Ta says that he came up with a brand new 3-step process. And he's not necessarily saying that the application technique is his, it's brand new, and it's something he came up with. I think taking his specific products, calling it Transition Blush within his beauty brand is what he created. He created a 3-step process within his brand. You get where I'm coming from? And the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to, okay, maybe it is within his process that it's brand new, is the Abby Young method. We all know Abby Young. She understands hair and scalp health better than anyone that I have seen online, and she has the Abby Young method. That is hers. Maybe she should trademark it, but we understand that these products were already made, but she took them and created a process, a method. So in looking at it in that lens, could that be what he means? And honestly, if that is the case, if that is what they meant, he has a whole marketing team behind him. If they knew that there would be any sort of mix-up, especially knowing the current climate of the beauty industry, why wouldn't they choose their wording more carefully? Also, why wouldn't they do damage control the second there was, that's weird. What do you mean you're claiming this? You know what I mean? Could it be also that they were hoping for some sort of controversy, but then it became bigger than what they could control? And again, this is my speculation. This is just my thought process and kind of where it took me. And on that note, when it comes to the trademarking, we're seeing brands and people behind brands are quickly speaking up in defense of Esther, because wrong is wrong is wrong is wrong, right? When it comes to ethics, when it comes to morals, sometimes it's loud and sometimes it gets overshadowed. So for instance, Kevin and Kwan, the brand, they posted a TikTok in defense of Painted by Esther. And Painted by Esther, like I said, has been vocal about taking inspiration from Kevin and Kwan's techniques and inspirations. And it was kind of a post in support of Esther. And Esther did respond, and it seemed like a really nice positive thing for her. Also, Danessa Myricks, their brand, they posted in support of Painted by Esther's artistry. This one was less direct, but you could tell that it was in support of Esther. Danessa Myricks and her brand is a huge proponent for artistry and expression, and they defended Painted by Esther, in my opinion, because your signature look and technique is yours alone, and they understand that the bag is not more important than the art. And a day after all of this kicked off, I think it was a day after all of this kicked off, MAC Cosmetics came out with MAC's zine article. This spotlights Painted by Esther and Alandria. They did a collaboration with MAC, which I think is really cool. Keep in mind, this was probably in the works for much longer. And MAC credits Esther for popularizing the trend and Alandria as being her muse. And within this article, they were referencing the blushes that Esther used on Alandria and how she mixed them and how she used them. So in my opinion, this is a prime example of being able to promote your product and sell product, but also collaborate and give credit where credit is due. So with all of that being said, what could this mean going forward for Esther and Patrick Ta Beauty? Has this set a precedent? And how does this directly affect creatives? And how does this directly affect the industry? Now, what is my personal opinion? These are all my opinions, okay? And this is where I stand currently. I feel like people are not mad about pulling inspiration and making something your own. People are mad at disrespecting a fellow artist in the industry and trying to claim it as your own, trying to make a quick buck from what we can tell, because again, it doesn't seem like a problem that needed to be solved.
Patrick Ta just launched 2 new products and he's calling it the evolution of blush. Those are a lot of steps and I've seen this before. Esther is the first name that comes to our mind. I love Patrick, but we need to talk about this. I am taking in my head is Esther. I just attended her masterclass and this is so Esther coded. I actually thought he's collaborated with her to create this. I love Patrick Ta. He'll be the king for giving us cream blush on top of powder blush. He has taught us so much. He has contributed a lot to the beauty world and we'll respect him for that. But this under eye blush transition technique, Esther is the queen of. Who does under eye blush transition technique belong to? To the beauty world. It does not belong to one person. But Esther has a strong, bold point of view and she made it famous. She made sure people sit down and take notice of it. That's the power of a highly skilled and confident makeup artist.
I do think it's really interesting that there is video evidence and screenshots of comments that he was aware of Painted by Esther's technique. There shouldn't be any harm in crediting her, or at the very least acknowledging that this was not a new innovative technique. Now, with that being said, there is a small, tiny part of me that wants to give the benefit of the doubt and think that he's trying to say he came up with a new technique within his line. And he's not necessarily saying that the application technique is his own. And that really is me giving the benefit of the doubt, because they have not clarified that. They had the opportunity and they didn't really do that, in my opinion. And here is a hard truth that I feel like a lot of people are coming to terms with. At the core of this, Patrick Ta is not your friend. And more importantly, Patrick Ta Beauty is not your friend. I feel like people, myself included, sometimes are expecting a parasocial relationship from Patrick Ta Beauty when it's just Patrick Ta as a person making beauty decisions. And there's almost this expectation from brands, because they're in your comments, because they're saying cutesy things in your DMs and stuff like that, and they follow like social trends. People expect a brand to have ethics, morals, and values, as they should, but those expectations are more similar to what you would expect from a friend and not from a huge brand. And I will tell you guys, and I know that some of you are aware because we do know way more about business than, we did before behind the scenes and social media really let us in. The business side of things is kind of where things get dirty, and a lot of people don't really understand that, because brands such as Patrick Ta Beauty have made it to where people see them as an equal, right? So if your friend was doing this to another friend, claiming something as their own, then yes, it makes sense to distance yourself. But Patrick Ta Beauty is a business, and that parasocial relationship people have with businesses is kind of clouding our judgment sometimes. If we are to take a step back and really look at this, I feel like it's important to judge him based on business, like not paying creators, not financially supporting creators when you make it out to look like you are, and not judging them based on ethics. And if you're playing around with people in your same industry, I don't think in the long run that could be good. And at the end of the day, you can choose to put your money towards whoever or whatever you want to support. That is one of the things about the beauty industry, is that there is a plethora of products from so many different brands. And the problem here is not so much the business aspect of it, but the ethics and the morals behind it. I feel like gone are the days of taking a smaller creator's idea or product and making it your own, or claiming it to be yours and expecting no backlash and expecting no repercussions. And I'm not saying that's exactly what Patrick Ta did, but you know what I'm saying. I feel like there is so much video evidence. There is a digital footprint to everything. And maybe that is why people have pinpointed so many people are so sensitive now. It's not that things make people more sensitive per se, but that there's a wider audience with a bigger pool of opinions that we didn't necessarily have access to 20, 25 years ago. That is everything that I have for you guys in this moment. What are your thoughts? Let me know. And as always, guys, please keep it cute, keep it respectful in the comments. And if you're curious to see any more of my deep dives, I will leave a little playlist right here for you guys in case you want to kind of watch those on your downtime. But until next time, please take care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon. Bye.